Is it crazy to say that Wylder might be the most underrated Nightfarer in Nightreign? Well, I'm saying it. With both movement tech and an affinity to great swords, Wylder is a great all-rounder to get your feet wet in any expeditions throughout the game. And with a couple of relics that enhance his moveset, there's a lot to get out of this jack-of-all-trades character. Without further ado, here's our Wylder character guide from Elden Ring Nightreign. Wylder is the default character of the game and is one of the 6 playable characters you'll have access to when you first boot up the first expedition. By default, they come with a buckler shield with a quick parry and their own signature greatsword. Stats-wise, he's pretty evenly spread across the board. Strength, however, is where his greatest attribute lies, but he's still flexible enough in his stat growth that dexterity weapons or even sorceries and incantations can be a viable option as support weapons in various scenarios. That said, you'll never want to shy away from Wylder's strength-based expertise if you want to deal consistent damage throughout your expedition. Because of this though, Wylder can be built out in more diverse ways than some of the other characters. They can take a hit with their high HP, so you can try to be somewhat tanky with heavier shields, and colossal swords will deal extra damage to bigger enemies. Or you can choose to bring them into something lighter with straight swords so you can close in on enemies quicker and dash around the battlefield. The choice really is up to you. Let's go over Wylder's traits. Wylder's passive ability is Sixth Sense, which allows him to cheat death once. What this does is if you're hit by an enemy that would have otherwise depleted your HP, Wylder will instead dive backwards automatically. This happens very quickly, barely interrupting the action you're taking, and also retains your HP at the level it was when you took the hit in the first place, rather than dropping it down to just 1 HP. You'll have a little passive indicator underneath your HP, FP, and stamina bar, so keep an eye out to make sure you have access to your Sixth Sense ability. Once used, Wylder won't have access to Sixth Sense any longer until you refresh at a Sight of Grace. Wylder's character skill is where his movement tech really shines. Claw Shot is a versatile ability, able to both be used in combat as well as traversal around the map. With it, Wylder will drag lighter enemies to him, while he'll instead pull himself toward heavier enemies. In practice, most non-boss enemies can be dragged to you, and they'll be briefly staggered while doing so. Larger enemies will be those that are bosses or are otherwise significantly larger than regular enemies. Note that enemies that Wylder drags himself to will not be staggered, so be careful of pulling yourself directly into their attacks. The Claw Shot can also be used for a traversal. When not locked onto an enemy, you can simply aim at the ground to drag yourself in that direction at high speed. This is great for dodging, but also for moving around quickly when the circle is closing in on you. Note that you can also jump out of a Claw Shot to extend Wylder's movement. And finally, certain relics will allow Wylder to attack out of the Claw Shot if he's wielding a greatsword. This is a great mechanic to close the gap on any enemy you're locked onto, and will engulf your sword in fire, dealing extra damage. Lastly is Wylder's ultimate art, Onslaught Stake. This ultimate art is incredibly powerful, able to deal massive damage to the enemy and dealing even more posture damage. It can also be held to be charged, allowing it to deal even more HP and posture damage. In practice, a fully charged Onslaught Stake is all but guaranteed to break an enemy's guard, opening them up for a critical strike. With certain relics, you can also enhance the ultimate art to introduce a Ring of Fire when Onslaught Stake is triggered. Let's go over some weapons for a minute. While Wylder can use any type of weapon the game throws at him, he has an advantage with his default weapon, the Greatsword. Not only does he have an expanded moveset from the original Elden Ring with them, but many of his skills are designed to be used in tandem with the Greatsword. See our note on the follow-up attack from earlier. However, this doesn't mean you should only use just Greatswords. Since there's no weight limit in the game, you can pick up any armaments without affecting your dodge. So if you want to carry a heavier weapon with Wylder, one that can deal striking damage and massive posture damage, then Wylder's strength stat will back him up if you choose to do so. Both great swords and colossal swords are going to be your best friend when using Wylder. But because Wylder also has a B scaling in dexterity, it also means you can pretty effectively use any faster weapons that you might like as well. Katanas with bleed buildup or daggers for fast strikes are a great backup. And with a C scaling in intelligence, faith, and arcane, even those can be useful to Wylder. However, magic should only ever be used as support for Wylder, with his damage and FP limit falling dramatically behind others who are more specialized. And that's our guide for Wylder in Elden Ring Nightreign. Good luck on your next expedition.